The applause tapered off like a polite cough, not quite reaching Sandra. Her smile held, fixed and practiced, but her eyes didn't follow. The host leaned forward, all white teeth and charm, and welcomed Keanu, like a king returning from war. And of course, Keanu here has been the face of that incredible charity outreach. Just phenomenal. His words bounced, rehearsed. Sandra blinked once. Her fingers, resting on her lap, curled slowly inward. Keanu sat down, nodding to the audience, but his gaze shifted, past the lights, past the cameras, to her. A silence bloomed. Then, softly, "I wasn't the face," Keanu said. "Sandra was the backbone. I just followed her lead." The host's smile didn't break, but something behind his eyes did. The room didn't gasp. It didn't need to. The silence that followed was louder than anything applause could say. The air held still, and the host finally realized he'd lost control of the moment. The silence from Keanu's words clung to the studio walls long after the cameras panned away. The host shifted in his chair, feigning a chuckle, but his voice thinned out. Sandra said nothing. She didn't need to. The audience's eyes flicked between them, not for entertainment anymore, but like witnesses to something truer than they expected. That clip would be replayed 1,000 times in the coming days, but it was what happened next, off script. That changed everything. A week later, a quiet story leaked online. It wasn't from a tabloid or a talk show. It was an old assistant's anonymous blog post. It spoke of meeting rooms where Sandra's name was intentionally struck from campaign leads, producers who edited her out of footage, studio heads who laughed that she was too outspoken, too political, not marketable enough anymore. One line hit harder than the rest. She built a house, and they shut the door on her face. That single sentence caught fire. People started digging. Archived emails surfaced. A charity director posted photos, unedited this time, showing Sandra in the mud, surrounded by children, while Keanu stood behind, holding supplies. Keanu himself confirmed it on a quiet podcast interview. "She never wanted credit," he said, voice steady. "But she deserved it more than anyone in that room." An intern from the studio, now a struggling filmmaker, uploaded a clipped segment that never aired. It showed Sandra interrupting a briefing to demand more protection for local teachers during their outreach trip. "They matter more than our press coverage," she'd said. The producer in the background had laughed. "That's why we keep you off the mic." The world began to shift, not through outrage, but quiet accountability. The host's name started vanishing from industry event listings. A network executive abruptly retired. Sandra's silence had held space for years, but now, her truth echoed louder than any staged applause. On a brisk morning, weeks later, Sandra and Keanu stood side by side at a modest town hall gathering. No cameras, just people. "We're not fixing the world today," Sandra said, finally speaking into a small mic with a shaky hand. "But maybe we fix how we see each other." Her voice cracked. She didn't try to hide it. A teenager in the front row held up a hand-painted sign. "You were never invisible to us." The host watched from his apartment, curtains drawn. His phone, once buzzing with bookings and brand deals, sat dead on the counter. A producer had sent him a final text. "You should have listened when it mattered." He didn't reply. In the months that followed, Sandra returned to the border town quietly. A mural now covered a crumbling school wall. Her and Keanu, hand in hand, surrounded by children. A quote sat under the paint, barely visible but unmistakable. "Dignity doesn't shout. It just stands." One evening, a letter arrived at Sandra's small office. No name. Just 2 sentences. "I was wrong. I saw you. I chose not to say it." She folded it gently, placed it in a drawer she rarely opened. Then she went back to her work. The industry would forget the host. History wouldn't. But the children in that town, the ones who ran to hug her whenever she returned, never needed the credits. They knew who had shown up when it mattered, and they remembered her not because she raised her voice, but because she stayed when others left. Justice hadn't come with sirens or lawsuits. It had come in quiet shifts, in truths whispered louder than lies ever shouted. In a single moment, live on air, when one man chose to tell the truth, and another man was finally forced to hear it.